Welcome to Every Way Woman. Different women, different opinions, great conversation. I'm Jocelyn Weye. Welcome, ladies. Let's have an open dialogue. October is also the month of domestic violence awareness. And it's not only affecting men, women, but also drastically our children. Stacy.
Well, being a survivor of a domestic, I was in an abusive relationship, I can tell you that it's not a good thing, particularly for children. And being a survivor of molestation, the things that we do to children are, you can never, ever, ever imagine. So awareness is key, understanding outlets, making sure that people around them are paying attention. Kids will show you signs, right? You'll just say
what
they're
are
bad.
some of the signs? What can we as adults look for in these children?
Well, I would say for myself, I can tell you I began to withdraw. I had a very upbeat personality, but I can pinpoint back to my childhood days where there was just something different, right? And so now I'm very cautious, even with my own children. If my daughter comes home and she's sad, I'm like, did somebody touch you? Did somebody hit you? And I mean, you know, it's true. That's how deep this thing is rooted. So it's
right,
it's
and I think children sometimes can be afraid to speak out. They're afraid. They don't want to be responsible. They don't want to be saying something that will cause disruption in the family.
Exactly.
And I think that's the
But
real
I think
crucial key.
teachers are also taught how to watch for this kind of thing, and I think that in many schools they're very much on top of it, and they're really aware, and they call authorities when they need to.
Well, do they? Because we have situations with the Boy Scouts, we have situations with the church, we have situations with Penn State, and I just wonder, like, how did these things happen and people just look the other way? And when people did these kinds of things, they weren't shunned from the organization. They were just shuffled around, moved somewhere else. I'm hoping things have changed now, but I don't understand. I thought we loved kids back in the day.
Sometimes I
too.
wonder
And
if
I don't
there's adults
understand.
who don't want to take on the responsibility, and I wonder if they're making a conscious decision in looking the other way from these children. As sad as that might be, I'm wondering if sometimes that's happening in these cases like Penn State or in the church or things like that.
Well, I think now it's being brought out to the forefront, and the awareness factor is there now. So I think more and more kids are being aware that this is happening, and it is okay to speak out. They're not going to be in trouble or responsible if they speak out and say something.
I think it was much worse 20 or 30 years ago. And
Right.
certainly,
Oh, absolutely.
discussed
People
all the
weren't
time.
talking about it.
Exactly.
It
They
was
were going in the right direction.
and wasn't aware.
And I'm really glad that now we are really talking about the sexual abuse, because that's a part of domestic violence. You have the tendency to hear about in the home and the beating part, but also it's commingled because often those children who are beat, there's some type of a sexual abuse attached to that. And so we deal with the physical, but we don't deal with the sexual piece of it. So I'm glad that awareness is coming full circle.
And it's important to get that out because they carry that baggage through their lifetime, and you don't want any child to carry that.
And then they become violent,
Well,
and
yeah.
they become abusive.
That's right.
They learn that violence is a way of handling these situations, and they become abusers themselves or juvenile delinquents a lot of the time.
Right. So it's really important to address
Not
it
all the
early
time.
on. As
But I think it's hard because a lot of families, it's all about you don't want to air your dirty
That's
laundry
true.
and that kind of thing.
Right.
And you want to be strong. You don't need to go telling everybody else about your problems. So I think for kids especially, you don't know if a kid has been abused at home or unless they have visible, bruises on their face or something like that. But you don't know necessarily when kids are abused. So
because it's psychological. If my husband is beating me, my daughters and my son may not have the tendency to say something because they know there's more recourse from my mother,
Absolutely.
right? So they feel like if I don't say anything, if I don't do anything, he won't hit her. And that's so much pressure to put on a child.
Yeah, they live in fear. They're really living in fear, and it's a very hard situation for a child to handle.
Coupled with the fact, and you said it, that we teach our children what goes in our home stays in our home. And that's so not the message. Now, they shouldn't be running their mouth about everything. There's certain things that are not secrets, right? There's just certain things that are not secrets.
No, absolutely not. Thanks for sharing, ladies.
I'm just saying.
We'll be right back.
True.
I want to know what the secrets are. I didn't know there were any secrets.
when I do not wash my hair.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Every Way Woman.
Welcome back. Joining us today is Heidi Hornbacker, the Executive Director from, let me say this right, impactpersonalsafety.com, and your senior trainer, while we can't see his face, Mr. Donald Hart, and he is handsome. And she's going to talk to us today in honor of National Domestic Violence Month about personal safety. Welcome, Heidi.
Thank you.
The first question is, what is personal safety?
Well, we really define it as you being able to move through the world in a way that makes you comfortable. We think what we teach is about engaging the world without fear.
Okay.
1 in 3 women will be assaulted in her lifetime. So with what we teach in terms of being able to walk through the world with a sense of self-esteem and awareness skills, that drops to 1 in 30 for most of our students.
Wow.
So it's huge once you know that you're worth something and that you have value in the world.
That is amazing. Well, let's get to some demonstrations because I need to know how to protect myself.
Sure. Well, the big thing that students get out of our classes is all the verbal skills, but of
Okay.
course what we're known for is our fight skills because they're the most fun to watch.
All
So the
right.
most typical things women might encounter, this is what we teach so that for them to be able to deal with that. So I'm going to show you first.
Okay.
It looks like this. I'm minding my own business.
Okay.
Maybe I'm outside of the grocery store and this kind of guy comes up and starts hassling me. What's
Hey.
going on?
Get in my car.
I'm not going with
Get
you.
in the car.
No. No! No! No!
Oh my goodness. You're not getting in that car.
No, I'm not getting in there.
Okay, so now,
So these are really, it looks like a lot, but these are really simple moves that any woman can do. Any body can do, no matter, no matter your size, your strength, your fitness level. And that's what we really want women to understand, that they are so strong, so much stronger than they know they are.
now I noticed that not only did you physically attack him, but you were using verbal cues. Now,
Yes.
no, to get there. What's
Yes.
behind that?
When we use our voices, we hit up to 30 to 40% stronger. You see, when Serena hits the tennis ball, she's grunting, right? She's yelling. It's because she hits the ball harder when she's yelling, when she's using her voice. It also keeps us breathing, which is really important. When you're adrenalized and frightened, we lose access to fine motor movement and logic. We have the freeze response. So if you're breathing, you're yelling, you're automatically breathing, you're breaking through that freeze response, you're starting to be able to make decisions that are going to help you get out of danger.
Can Jackie try that? Can
Yes,
you do that,
she
Jackie?
So you're going to take a really big step in. Your whole body goes into that strike. It's not just your arms. Nice and stable. Ground your feel on the ground. There you go. Nice and steady. He's going to come towards you. Get ready. Step in. Heel pump. Good. And then get ready.
Goddamn, no!
Good. Even louder. You can be so much louder. Ready? Heel pump. No. Nice. So now he's going to come in. You're going to step and do that knee to the groin. Step right underneath your target. There you go. Ready? Step and knee.
No.
Nice. How'd it feel?
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, now let me ask you, what if he were coming behind her? Because sometimes you
this-
can't see them.
Yes.
Show us that one.
Okay. If he were coming behind me, I'm minding my own business, I'd be like this.
No!
Groin! Whoa! Elbow! Back off! You need to leave me alone!
Wow. Okay, so the magic place is the man's.
Most assailants are men. Well, our organization is men and women working together to end the cycle of violence. I want to make that clear.
Yes,
Men are
exactly.
not the bad guys.
Right,
But when we work together for safety. There are two targets on any assailant, which tends to be a man: head and groin. Anything else is going to just sort of be wasting your time.
Okay.
So we just, all of our strikes use your whole body. Like you saw, she was stepping in. She was using her whole body for that strike. She was either going to hit his head or hit his groin.
Okay, so Jackie, can you try that? I like that backwards one.
one?
Yeah,
Oh, I don't
because
know.
sometimes they get you from behind.
They do.
How do I do it?
Turn around.
Okay.
So here's your weapon. It's this right here. Okay. So you're going to reach down like this. When he comes behind you, you're going to smack up like this because his head's right behind your head.
Okay.
So and you're going to step back into it.
Okay.
So grabs you, big step back, big step into him. There you go.
And then.
Step and hit him.
Okay.
Yeah, use your voice.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Big no.
No!
There you go. And then turn around. Hands up. Tell him to leave you. Tell him to leave you alone.
Leave me alone.
There you go.
So Heidi,
Assailants aren't looking for a fight. They're looking for an easy
Right.
target.
So again, the secret, as I love what you're saying, is your voice. Is because we're usually taught as young girls, that, you walk down, you look very docile, you make yourself a candidate. But it's those women who are like, try it.
Yep. No, a lot of our teaching is based on an FBI study where they showed footage of people walking through a mall to men who'd been convicted of various crimes like this. And they said, who would you target? They inevitably picked the people who were looking down, distracted on their phones, overloaded with too many bags, people who didn't look like they really cared that much about themselves or liked themselves that much, or who just weren't paying attention. So that's what we say is, even if you don't feel good about yourself that day, head up, shoulders back, walk, look who's around you. Make the phone call later. Listen to that music later.
Heidi, this is it. Can you show, what about a woman who has her children? Can you show us a technique if I had my children and someone attacked? Can you kind of show how we would maneuver that?
Well, the first thing I would do is if she's my child, the first thing I would do is say, get behind me, stay behind me, and any child of mine is going to have some training. We do offer classes starting at 6 years old for little kids, and so I would have her behind me so she's out of harm's way. And then I would start talking to him, you know what, I don't want any trouble. Why don't you just go ahead and leave us alone? You can walk away now. I don't want any trouble. And I would trust her to be behind me and staying out of trouble.
Okay.
And then it's pretty much the same thing. The bottom line is, hey, you need to take a step back. You talk to me. No.
So at no time are you demonstrating fear. See, that's what I'm getting from this side.
Well, that's what our training does, is once you know you can fight for your life against somebody bigger and stronger than you, what are you afraid of?
Wow.
And we all have that capability within us. We've just been told as women that we don't have it because you're a girl, you're weak, you're small, there's nothing you can do, and it's all lies.
Wow, you have some more things you'd like to show us?
What else do you want to do, John? Let's
Mr.
see.
Bad Guy.
We could do a date gone wrong.
That's a good one. A date gone wrong.
He's gonna morph back into his more human self. These are really common skills.
Wow, okay. Which is, Heidi, is good because sometimes a lot of our assailants are people that we know. Date
80%.
rape. You are handsome.
Well, thank you.
80% is people that we know.
Wow, okay. This is date gone wrong.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah, me too. Thanks.
You
Dinner was really...
want to go upstairs?
I need you to take a step back. You're a little too
It's
close.
fine. No, we had a good time.
We
Let's just
did.
finish it off upstairs.
No,
that's all I'm saying.
I'm
It's
not
okay.
interested.
Come on,
You're
getting
not
the wrong.
listening to me.
You're not listening to me.
You're not listening to me.
That was,
This is as far as I want.
That. Come on, let's just go.
I said no.
Okay,
Walk away.
Forget it. You're not in it. Forget it.
Wow. Okay, walk us through.
Sure.
Come here. Date gone wrong.
We had a nice date. Everything's fine. Then he wants something more than I want to give.
Okay.
So he's not listening to me. The first thing I'm going to do is say, you know what? He disregarded my no how many times? 3 times? You're not listening to me. I said no. It's really hard for an assailant or potential assailant to keep pushing that point if you said, hey, this is what you're doing. I see it. Then the next thing I did was what we call mid-level dissuasion. I want to cause him a little pain, a shin kick.
Come on, go ahead.
Shin kick.
Okay, a shin kick.
A pinch like this, you pinch and grab the, he's going to let me do this because he's crazy pants. You pinch and you twist. And that kind of thing, it really gets his attention.
Okay.
There's the jugular notch right here, thumb right in there, hand just a little.
Wow.
And
See,
that's-
Jackie?
That's not
Got
going
it.
to injure him, but it's definitely going to get his attention.
Stimulates a gag response.
And then I'm right back into my ready stance, setting a boundary, firm. My body sends the same message as my voice and my actions. No, walk away. And I'm just ready. If he comes in, I'm ready for a fight. Now, women, the concern for a lot of women is, well, what if I make him mad? What if he wants to then attack me? You can't turn a good guy into an assailant by saying no. He was
that's a
already
good point.
planning on attacking me. If that was his goal for the night, that was already his goal. Yeah. So I can set my boundary, and he's going to realize he's picked the wrong girl, and he should just walk away.
Now, how do I know that these techniques will work for me or work for Jackie? Because they look excellent, but how do I know they'll work for us?
Well, everything we teach you is in an adrenaline state, which creates instant muscle memory, unlike traditional martial arts. So what we're teaching you is going to be in your body for the rest of your life. We teach the the little animal brain at the back here. So it's not a cognitive process. We've had women come to us 15, 20 years after a class and say, I got attacked, and before I even realized what was happening, my body reacted, and he was on the ground, and I was safe, and the police came, and so.
Wow. Heidi, again, where can our viewing audience find you? This is amazing. Where can they find you?
We are impactpersonalsafety.com. We are located throughout Los Angeles. We have various locations where we teach around the area. We're actually also an international organization, so chances are friends and family live in other places. We've got a chapter near you.
Donald Hart, Heidi, thank you so
Thank
very
you.
much.
So nice
this
to
was
be here.
amazing.
Thank you.
We'll
Good
be
job.
right back.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Every Way Woman.
Welcome back. We have Joyce Cremium from the Fitness Station, personal trainer, joining us to talk about some of the exercises that women can do as they're going through their treatment or as they're getting their bodies together to also prevent breast cancer. Joyce, welcome to the show.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
You have some kettlebells.
We have some kettlebells today, and the benefit with kettlebells is it increases muscular endurance and strength, and you also work with your core, and it taps into different muscles of your body that you can't tap into with different exercises.
Right, because one of the things they're saying in research is that exercise is important for preventive for breast cancer. So show us some moves.
Yeah,
show
let
us some
me
of
show
your
you.
moves.
We'll start off with the kettlebell swing. So you're going to hold it by the horns.
Okay,
slightly.
so now for people like me, or people out there who may not exercise, walk us through us. What is,
So you're going to grab the kettlebell by its horns, and they all have different weights. You want to
Okay.
start off with the lower weight as you begin the exercise, and you slightly bend over
Okay.
and slightly bend your knees hip width
So
apart.
like to a squat?
Yeah,
Okay.
hip semi-squat, hip width apart, and you want to thrust up
Okay.
and back down.
So now you're thrusting, and as you're thrusting, you're moving through your hips.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
push your hips towards the sky, and your arms are going to be really relaxed. You're not using your arms at all. It's mostly your legs and your glutes you're working on.
Okay. Now let me ask you this, Joyce. Are there any alternatives that you can use if you don't have a kettlebell? Is there something at home that you could possibly use?
Yeah, you can use any type of weight. Even when you're grocery shopping, you can even put like fruits in a bag. You could just be creative with it. So it's just basically a weight that you could, anything that's you have at your house.
Why don't you turn
or-
to the side, and you had a nice
Yeah.
little view. Kind of show everybody without the
Yeah,
bell, kind of
sure.
your body, because that was a
Sure.
nice
So
view.
Slightly bent and press up.
Ooh, let me move, or you knock me out. Good.
And make sure your arms are relaxed.
Now, is
again.
there a certain amount of repetitions that I should do? How many times a day should I do that?
I would recommend doing that. Start off with three sets of 10. So just do 10, and then you can increase it or increase the weight as it gets easier.
Wow. Now, I hear you breathing. Does that also assist with cardio?
Yeah, it's cardiovascular exercise. So it's cardio, core, muscular, strength, endurance. We got everything. With
So
these
if our
kettlebells.
viewers wanted to find out about the fitness station, how can they do that? Or find out about you?
You can just go to our YouTube channel or go to fitnessstationla.com, and we have info about our place or our gym.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your coming. You're pink on in honor of breast cancer. We'll be right back.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Every Way Woman.
Welcome back. Every Way Woman is very honored to host two of the most influential women in the Los Angeles area. In honor of Domestic Violence Month, we have Lieutenant Ibarra. Welcome to the show, and Yvette Lozana. Ladies, pleasure to have you. Please tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, I'm a lieutenant with the Pasadena Police Department. I've been in law enforcement for 25 years. Currently, I manage our Criminal Investigations Division, detectives. And so within our section, I manage the investigations for homicide, assault, sexual assault, elder abuse, child abuse, and of course a key component of what my investigators do are family-related crimes, which includes domestic violence.
And that kind of brings in Yvette.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm the Director of Intervention Services for Peace Over Violence, and I oversee our emergency response team. We have 68 plus advocates that provide support and services for victims of sexual assault and domestic violence.
So how do you two work together, or do you work together as it relates to crime or domestic violence against women?
Well, and domestic violence isn't gender specific, so I
Good
want to make sure we
point.
clarify that.
Good.
How we work together is our agencies work together. Pasadena Police Department is very proactive to reach out to several resources in the community, be it Peace Over Violence or Grace Center or Haven House or YWCA. And so they are available to us 24 hours, 7 days a week. And when we get a call of either sexual assault or domestic violence, we refer not only the victims to those resources, but we actually reach out to Peace Over Violence, and they respond to the station, they respond to the hospitals, and they get the opportunity to interface with those victims early on, which is so critical for intervention.
Now, I have a question for you, because I know a lot of people hesitate to make a call in the first place. What constitutes calling in the police, making that call? Because I've heard my neighbors in apartment buildings maybe arguing. When do I call the police?
If you think anyone may be getting exposed to a violent or dangerous situation, we ask, please call us. In fact, studies have shown only about 20 or 25% of the time when there's incidents of violence are we actually getting notified. Meaning there's a 911 call or someone's calling the general information
No,
line.
I think maybe a lot of people as witnesses feel scared to call because they think that the person will know that they're the ones that call. So is it a way to call the police and leave it anonymous so, you know, my neighbor doesn't know I'm the one that's calling when I hear him slapping his children or his wife?
Well, yes, there's two things. One, on the 911 call, it will show where that call has come from.
Okay.
So we'd register a phone number, but you can also ask that you not be identified, and that's critical. They say, I don't want to be identified in this.
Okay.
If it's an emergency, please call 911. If you call the general information number, we may not get that call, and if it's dropped, we don't know where to reach back to provide assistance.
You know, Yvette, I have a question for you. Lieutenant Ibarra made it, domestic violence, we think of women. How many cases of men do you do intervention for that you see men being abused?
Well, we do provide services to men, and recently we've seen an increase in men reporting domestic violence. And it could be their same-sex relationships or heterosexual relationships, but we actually seen about maybe 2% increase in the past year.
Do you find that men are more hesitant, or it doesn't matter across genders?
I think in both situations, both genders are hesitant to report. There's many issues that may come up. But with regards to men, there's also the shame of being judged by others or the services, or maybe thinking that they might not be able to get services available.
Now, when you come on a call, will you always take one of the people out of the house, one of the participants? Because if you don't take, you know, say if the husband's abusing the wife, and then are you going to take him out of the house? Because what's going to happen when the police leave and he's still there with her?
Well, we separate them so we can hopefully get a statement without being influenced by the other one's presence. But you have to remember, we can't legally remove someone from the home unless they're being arrested.
And now is that where more of the intervention service would come in, Yvette?
Yes, this is where we both work together. Police obviously respond and assess the safety of everyone that's reporting that's in the home and the children. And we actually come in as advocates and provide information for the survivors, the victims, and the children, whether it be crisis counseling, resources, connecting or filling out restraining orders, placing them into shelters. We do a lot of that work too, along with other agencies as well. But I think that the collaboration with police and advocacy centers is very important, and this is something that we've been doing for the past 15 years that Peace Over Violence has been in the Pasadena area.
Now, how does a person find out about the resources after, you know, they've experienced a domestic violence incident? How do they find out where the shelters are, where to go?
Well, when we get a call and we have either an individual that is going to jail because of a domestic violence and we need to get a restraining order, we will do that. It's called an emergency protective order. But after that, they may need a permanent restraining order, which we bring in the advocates to assist with that. They may need court accompaniment, which we also bring in the advocates so they can develop that relationship.
So do you come in together?
Yes, we can. Well, but they will not come in initially. Of course, it's a public safety issue.
Right.
So we will come in initially, assess what the situation is, and then we bring the advocates, the resources into the environment.
Now, with Peace Over Violence, do you have are you guys on call too?
Yes, we are. We are on call 24/7. We have about 68 plus advocates who are responding. In situations where domestic violence call goes to police officers respond, they assess the situation, and they actually offer the victim if they want to speak to an advocate, and that's where we come in. Then they call us, and then they transfer the survivor victim to the station, then we respond to the station to provide that support for
Yvette,
them.
how did you get involved with this advocacy? How did this come for you?
I actually, growing up, I witnessed domestic violence,
Okay.
and I think that it's an issue that should be addressed not just in the month of October, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I think it's an issue that should be discussed every day.
Okay.
Children are impacted by witnessing this type of non-healthy relationships in the home.
How often do the two of you witness children in these matters of domestic violence?
For me, many times, many times.
I would think in every incidence of domestic violence where the children have been a witness, it's impacted no matter what, whether they're impacted emotionally at the age of 5 or 6, or they're impacted at 25 when they're now become the abuser. And so having that intervention isn't just for the victim, it is for the families, and that's what becomes so critical too.
Yvette, I want to go back.
Sure.
You said that you were a witness.
I was a witness.
How has that changed you, or how does that pump your advocacy with it? Because I can tell you're very calm about that. Have you dealt with that? I'm not psychoanalyzing you, but myself being a survivor, what does that do for you?
Well, for any survivor or anyone that has witnessed violence or has experienced any type of trauma in their lives, and it's the healing process. It takes time.
Exactly.
So, and our philosophy is to empower survivors to be independent. And I think that many of the women that are involved in these issues are because they're trying to empower other women to get out of that situation, that no one deserves to be abused or be in an unhealthy relationship. And that is my purpose, and that's what drives me to do what I do.
Amazing.
Now,
Good job.
between you two, do you think that most of the people end up just staying, or do these people actually leave? Because I know you go to all this trouble, you go to arrest them, then you go to counsel them, but then they go right back to the abuser.
They can go right back to the abuser. That is obviously, that's their choice unless they ask us to place them in a shelter. But just because we may have had intervention at the one point, maybe the initial call, doesn't mean that intervention stops, because they will continue to reach out to them. The other thing that happens with this is that we continue with education. Most people think domestic violence is just about the physical act. It is about power and control.
Right.
Well,
And it really is about the younger people understanding. Teenagers are becoming more susceptible to that socially.
going
even with
At a younger age, I think it's becoming more influential at a younger age. And
Wow.
you'll find teenagers maybe perpetuating that violence sooner.
even with all this awareness, is it domestic violence increasing, or is there been a decrease?
Well, it depends on who you're asking. Are you asking law enforcement or are you asking advocacy groups? Because it depends. With law enforcement, sometimes they could say domestic violence calls are decreasing, but that's the calls that are being reported. If you're calling the 24-hour hotline, if you're
Right.
calling other domestic violence agencies, our hotline numbers are up. We have a lot of requests for counseling and assessment and case management services that many survivors are seeking. So it depends.
But part of that, real quick, is this programs like this. And when you educate people on what other resources there are, avenues to get out of a bad relationship besides calling law enforcement. We want you to call us. We want to have that intervention. But now that this awareness is becoming about, they realize that there are resources there. And so they're reaching
Speaking
out.
on those resources, where can women reach out? Is there a hotline number?
There is a National Domestic Violence Hotline, the
Which
National
is?
Domestic Violence Hotline, and there's also local domestic violence hotlines as well. One of the numbers local is 213-626-3393, and any survivor, any significant other can call that number, have counselors available who have been trained to provide a needs assessment and connect survivors to resources.
Let me ask you this, though. We're talking about when they're in the mix. What type of education is being done early before dealing with self-esteem with teenagers or teenage girls? Because now you're helping me, Lieutenant Ibarra, when he's beat me up. But there's something about me, maybe, with my self-esteem that I go back. How do you two work together to address that?
It's the issue that Lieutenant Ibarra just mentioned. It's about educating teens. There's a lot of teen dating violence that is happening amongst our youth nowadays. And having organizations collaborate together, like Pasadena Police or any other police department and domestic violence agencies, going to schools.
What do you say to
and
her?
educate them.
What do you say to her when that young woman walks in? Do you say, he doesn't love you? I mean, what are the
Oh,
terms
not
that
at
you
all.
use?
No, our goal is to empower. We don't want
Okay.
to. We don't want to take that power and control
Right.
and put it on ourselves and tell that person and make them feel less.
Well,
We want to
ladies,
encourage them.
Thank you so much
great.
for your time. We really appreciate this information. We would love to invite the both of you back on our show. This information is vital to all of our viewers. In honor of Domestic Awareness Month, the YWCA in the Pasadena community is partnering to sponsor a week without violence. For more information, please go to the ywca.org.
This has been an Everyway Woman production.